The next most important part of meditation is being ready and able to release. Most people are so wound up and uptight, they can't let go. It inhibits their flow. One of the paradoxes of our sacred journey is that we kind of have to lose ourselves in order to find ourselves. If you're very rigid, stuck and tied into dogma, if you have lots of rules and regulations and obligations and set ideas, you can't really transcend. What you have to do is somehow put away the beta rhythm and the intellect and your opinions and allow yourself to let go. So wanting to meditate is the first part. Letting go is the second part. The third part is deciding and comprehending that you are a spiritual being. I know that sounds odd to most people because I'd imagine that most people who are listening to these tapes think that they are a spiritual being. But there's a huge difference between thinking you're a spiritual being and actually knowing it. So if I say to you, what does infinity feel like? If you don't have a very definite idea of that, you can't tell me. You'll say, well, I think it's like this, Stu, or I think it's like that. But what does infinity actually feel like? If I say to you, bro, sister, you're eternal, that doesn't work if it's just an intellectual concept. It has to resonate as this internal dong inside of you. So if I say to you, are you eternal? You can smile and say, of course I'm eternal. Knowing it from feeling, knowing it from a deep sense of awareness, not just grasping at it as an intellectual idea, stretching for it from a distance. Knowing that you're eternal is feeling eternal, feeling that you've transcended this earth plane, that there is no death, that you truly are an immortal spiritual being. So deciding you're a spiritual being is vital, absolutely vital. This life is a spiritual journey. It's not a journey where you think you're spiritual, where you think you're doing lots of lovely things, where you think you're important or superior or chosen or selected or whatever. It's a place where you know the greatest gift you can possibly acquire is the gift of serenity, silent power, power that's not wielded, power that's not outwardly expressed necessarily, power that's not leaning into people, demanding observers, demanding affection, demanding praise, demanding a special table in the restaurant, demanding treatment that others aren't getting, demanding others to confirm you, underwrite with you, agree with you, praise you, build you up. Silent power, it's a subtle energy where you reach a spiritual, psychological transcendence, where you know who you are and you don't have any apologies to make, but you have nothing to assert either particularly. You don't necessarily at this time have to like what you are, and you don't necessarily have to be perfect. The incredible beauty of this journey is that perfection isn't actually what we're seeking. What we're seeking is reconciliation. Now that may sound odd, but reconciliation is where you can look in the mirror and say, this character, slightly less than perfect of course, this character is okay. That is reconciliation. That is where you embrace the God force within you, where you finally come to accept yourself. I'll tell you why this is important. God, the God force, whichever way you want to refer to God, accepts you. Unconditional love is really a form of acceptance. It's also a form of concentration. The God force accepts what you are and isn't judging or criticizing or desiring things for you. When you can look in the mirror and accept the character that is you, warts and all, you're expressing that divinity within you. The other thing that's very important that makes meditation successful is love. Love is a form of concentration. When you fall in love with another person, you're concentrating upon them more than you're concentrating upon other people. So romantic love, as we understand it anyway, is defined as extremes of concentration upon a person that you fancy. Love of your children is concentrating and caring for them. Love of your spouse is the same. Love of your church, love of Jesus, whatever. It's all heightened concentration. So when you turn within and you begin to concentrate on the subconscious mind, you discover a deeper identity in there. that identity is different to the waking state ego personality. It's different to the boasting, noisy, frightened ego. In there's a deep sense of spirituality. In the subconscious mind, there's a deep sense of self, a deep sense of your true spiritual identity. Turning within through meditation is the act of concentrating upon that. So therefore, it becomes an act of loving yourself. Now, this is not a narcissistic love. It's not a love where you're just so full of your wonderful qualities that you make everybody throw up. It's just watching, looking, learning, desiring to improve, desiring to raise your energy, desiring to go through that transactional process where you discover the nature of and the language of the soul. And of course, the soul is the personality. It is the mind. So looking within, you discover who you are. And by concentrating upon your inner self, you enhance that process where you embrace the true spiritual being. It's your sacred way of honoring the God force by concentrating upon yourself. Now, setting up the meditation. The meditation obviously involves discipline. So the first thing you have to do in setting up your meditation is to agree to the discipline. Because to meditate every so often, like when you're on the bus going to the office or on a plane going somewhere, is fine and it's certainly relaxing. But it doesn't really work as a spiritual discipline. What you need to do is, if you're going to meditate properly, is to do it on a regular basis, even if it's only 10 minutes a day. I recommend 24 minutes a day, 1 minute for every hour of the day, which seems reasonable to me. But it ought to be a daily thing that you perform on a regular basis at the same time each day. That way, energy builds and a power comes around you at the time that you select. Also, I believe that those inner guiding forces, that part of you that is connected to the universal mind, operates better when it can feel you sort of arriving and leaving on a regular basis. It's almost like the in-breathing and out-breathing of the cosmic mind begins to align to the fact that you're doing this daily meditative practice at the same hour and hopefully at the same place each day. I also suggest that people rise early. In the olden days, when I was training with my teacher, learning about esoteric philosophies, unraveling myself and getting my act together metaphysically, I used to rise at 4 a.m. and I would walk in the forest every day in the dark. And I did that for 3 years, waking every day, walking along, and being a part of that serenity, that quietness. That's where I learned about the Tao. That's where I learned about the grace of God in all things. And that's where I learned to calm my mind and to calm my personality, to really look in a rational way at what are my desires? Who am I? What do I want? Where am I going? After I'd done the walk, I'd come home and I'd have a cup of tea and I would shortly thereafter begin my meditation. I did that for 24 minutes every day for 3 years. Now that was many moons ago, but I've been meditating ever since. Now, I don't quite do it in the same way as I used to do it, because there's a strange thing about discipline. If you do them for too long, you enter into a spiral of diminishing returns. It's almost as if in doing it, because you get fed up, you become sort of automatic, and you're doing it like a complete dummy, and nothing comes from it. So now I do meditate when I feel like it, or I will set myself a discipline and meditate every day for 30 days because I'm working on something. So you can adjust the discipline as time goes on, but at the beginning I suggest that you decide on a discipline of meditating each and every day, and then eventually you can adjust that whichever which way pleases you. So setting up the meditation is a decision to enter into that spiritual discipline. Now, for those of you that have difficulty sitting still, you can make your meditation walking in the forest. You can get your Walkman and put your headphones on and put one of these metronome tapes on and just allow the metronome to bathe you in its serenity. So let's say you're walking through the forest and your tape's on. You can actually enter into a trance state walking along with your eyes open. You don't necessarily have to be lying down, although of course lying down or sitting still in a chair is the preferred method. Certainly, if you use the metronome as you're walking along with your eyes open, you'll be in high theta or perhaps low alpha. So you won't get as deep down as you would is if you were doing it on your own quietly somewhere. But you can certainly experience the feeling. You can experience the sense of magic, that excitement that comes from traversing two worlds. The world of external reality and the inner world with all its magic and its information and its awesome power. And certainly that for me has always been the motivating force in this meditation discipline, is accessing and looking into those inner worlds. Because if that wasn't there, I don't know that I'd really meditate. I mean, yeah, I fancy the stress reduction, and I certainly would like my physiological being to be stronger and so on. And I'd like to rest and release, but in the end, it's this idea of moving through the subconscious mind into other dimensions of mind that are not normally available to us that excites me. And of course, the more you meditate, the more those inner doors begin to open. So, sit in a chair, have your back straight, face the south, take a slow, gentle breath. Hold that for a moment and exhale. Take another slow, gentle breath. Hold that for a moment and exhale. And as you exhale, tell yourself, hey, I'm going deeper and deeper. More and more relaxed, deeper and deeper. Take 3 breaths in this way and then start to body talk yourself into a state of relaxation. And there's nothing more to that than just visualizing the various parts of your body in a relaxed state. So you visualize your feet, you visualize your ankle, your legs, your upper torso. It's particularly important to release the tension that's in the muscles of the jaw and the shoulders. So you just tell your shoulders relax, tell your jaw relax, and get rid of anything that's particularly bothering you, that's on your mind. So you just sort of say to your mind, hey, look, I appreciate we've got a bunch of problems and the car needs fixing and the cat's got the clap, but we'll handle this later. See your body relaxing and see yourself moving gently away from that reality that we know as external reality. The next thing I do is I go through some various etheric exercises that open the chakras and basically consolidate my energy. You don't necessarily have to get that complicated. All you have to do is see the heart chakra opening like a flower, and then move to the throat and see that opening. Then move to the third eye and see that opening. And then feel the golden light pouring through the crown chakra at the top of your head. If you don't believe in chakras, don't open them. Just leave them there. They're probably open on their own anyway. And as you open up, you begin to feel yourself connecting into these other levels, these other worlds. In the end, all these inner dimensions and all of the energy that permeates our reality are just levels of consciousness. By opening up, you reach inside those levels, and bit by bit, there is energy there to help you. You begin to develop as a truly trans-dimensional being. Then as you're sitting there, pictures or words will come to you. The ego will try to interrupt you. It'll start to tell you something. It'll start to get you thinking about something, an obligation, a party that you've agreed to go to next week. But you have to push up against that, because what you're going to do is establish that the real you, the inner you, is actually the dominant force in this lifetime, not the personality. So when the personality says to you, hey, we've got to get the car serviced, you say, I don't accept that energy, and you gently push it away. And when another thought comes up, say, I don't accept that energy, and again, push it away. Try to create as blank a mind as possible. For most people, 10 seconds of a completely blank mind is tough to do, but bit by bit it comes, and again, you have to persevere. It will be frustrating at times, but then you're not seeking to achieve perfection in 15 minutes. It may take a while, and if you're eternal, what the hell do you care how long it takes? No one can promise you that you will instantly enter into a Buddhist-type serenity. You can't, it's not possible. However, with the help of technology, with the help of the metronome, you can work on it, and you can work on it quickly. It really depends on the level of your desire, as mentioned before. How much do you want to transcend? How much do you want to change? How much do you want to learn about yourself? Okay, you're meditating and dialogue comes to your mind and you gently push it away. Bit by bit, after a while, you're going to see colored blobs that move across your eyes. They move in arcs, left to right, or right to left. These colored blobs come from the way that the optic nerve works. And what you do is just watch them. They're very pretty and interesting. Let them go. They don't really mean very much. Next, you're going to start to see symbols. Now, the symbols again will be moving on a dark background, which of course is your eyelids, which are closed. They'll be tracking left to right or right to left. More often than not, the symbols will be coming up from the subconscious mind, and they'll come up in strings or groups. So for a week, you'll see faces, like loads and loads of faces, beautiful faces, grotesque faces, old people's faces, young people's faces. And then the faces disappear, and your screen melts to darkness, and suddenly up come trees. Then you see 100 different types of trees. And then another week it'll be geometric shapes, and another week letters and words. And bit by bit, all of this information passes in front of your eyes, and it's really a way of the subconscious mind beginning to enter into a dialogue with you. It's showing you, and what you're doing is passively watching, without any particular opinion, without any particular thought. You're just watching all of these symbols come and go. After that, the screen, which is created by your mind, and the darkness of your closed eyes goes blank. At that point, there's a long way to travel where nothing in particular happens. So it takes perseverance, it takes tenacity. An odd feeling comes along, a perception, the odd strange symbol, but eventually you'll see images coming at you right up the center of your vision. They come very, very quickly, and they're the ones you're looking for. This is when you've tapped through the subconscious, I believe, into another state of mind. And one of the ways that you can tell this is because the symbols aren't moving in arcs. They're not tracking left to right in a slow, gentle arc. They're coming right up the center. And often the symbols are in their own golden light. They're not just hazy symbols on a dark background. These are symbols that are moving up the center of your vision very, very quickly, standing in their own light. They have an intrinsic feeling, an intrinsic energy of their own. They'll teach you things. They'll show you things. Most of it, in my case anyway, I didn't understand what the hell they meant. It took me years to figure them out. But we're not necessarily looking to understand it all. What we're looking to do is to establish the feeling of being or evolving somewhere else. So if you landed in Czechoslovakia for a holiday, you wouldn't expect to necessarily understand what the people are saying if you don't speak Czechoslovakian. But you're happy to sort of breathe in the feeling of Czechoslovakia, to breathe in the culture, to breathe in the music and the sights and the sounds. Well, it's the same in this meditative process. You're looking to sort of step to another world. And although some of it's confusing and some of it is not necessarily what you're used to, there it is, you're watching. You're joining, you're belonging by the very fact that you have this one footprint on the other side. Here are a few meditations that I particularly like that you may want to include in your meditation routine. The first one is what I call the elements of man. That is, the elements of fire, water, earth, air, and what is often called ether, which I call etheric. I like to see myself sitting in a desolate area, like a valley, with no grass, with nothing particular in it, in the middle of nowhere. That's really an affirmation for me of I am what I am. I don't need things around me to hold me up. And then sitting there in this valley on my power spot, which is like the spot inside this visualization that I've decided is the strongest, I center upon that divinity within, that eternity within, and I visualize in front of me a small fire. Then in my mind's eye, I put my hand forward and I take a flame from that fire and place it into my heart. And then I visualize a clear pool of water, and taking a small amount of that water in my hand, I drink that water and feel the freshness, to feel the Tao, to feel the calmness and the purity of water. In the Tao, water is revered because it takes the lowest place. A lot of times the Taoist philosophy was called the watercourse way, meaning that it's that place where one isn't exerting oneself, where one enters into a humility like water does, in the sense that it always takes the lowest ground and doesn't try to assert itself. But water is still powerful because as it bangs against a rock, in the end, it wears away the rock. And then having gone through the water part of the meditation, I then visualize a black raven. And I would see myself as being inside that raven, floating in the air above the valley. picking up the thermals, being a part of the air element, experience the freshness of the wind and the beauty of the breezes. And I would float around as that bird for a while in my meditation, and then come back out of the bird and center my concentration once more on the power spot. And there I would focus upon experiencing the element of earth. And so I'd feel the power of the earth underneath me, and I would pick up like a spiral of energy from the center of the earth and run it up my spine and out through the top of my head. And then I'd pick up another spiral and experience that sense of being a human, being alive, being a part of the ever-changing seasons of the earth plane. And then finally, for the etheric, I would just visualize it as light. So I'd see myself there on the power spot, and I'd imagine myself surrounded by this flashing light, this sort of lightning fast violet light that's like coursing through one's entire being. And running through each one of the elements in this way, for me, is like a prayer. It's like a sacred prayer to all of the components that make up our humanhood. And that allows me that sense of belonging, but it also allows me a sense of the eternity within. The other meditation that I like a lot is the healing meditation, which is nothing more than feeling strong, feeling well, directing light and positive energy to those areas of your body that need healing, creating a sense of wellness, a sense of composure. Of course, wellness is an emotion, isn't it? It's not a physiological state. Our health is based in emotion. So part of the healing meditation is to send light to those emotions that are bothering us. Rather than seeing parts of your body as unwell, work on the emotion of being calm and being serene. Because most disease comes from fear, comes from stress, comes from restriction, frustration. They're all negative emotions that manifest as pings and dings in your body. Then after I've completed the healing meditation, I then look in terms of what parts of my life are bothering me. If there's a person that's particularly driving me crazy, I'd send them light. I send them light, or I work upon them in some way. If I want to get shot of them, I work on a technique that's proved itself invaluable over the years. So what I do is I go to the power spot in the desolate area, and I visualize the bothersome person standing in front of me. Then I make them really, really small and put them into my hand. And using a technique from NLP, I take them from a live colored person to a black and white person, like the negative of a photograph. And then looking at them in my hand, I just blow on them gently to get rid of them. I see them gone and in the distance, way out of my life. The situation resolved, lovingly and peacefully. You can do the same for a situation that's bothering you by visualizing the situation in front of you, or creating a symbol that describes the situation and blowing that away and seeing that healed and seeing that transcending to a positive resolution. The other meditation I particularly like and use a lot is one which I sometimes refer to in my seminars and lectures as the divine order meditation. It's really seeing the things you want in your life granted. It's not enough to just think about the things you want or to affirm the things you want. You have to be able to really feel them and make them a part of your energy. In other words, the thing that you're going for has to become a part of your feelings. You think it originally, but at some point you have to step up and own it. So the meditation that I do, if I'm looking for a particular something in my life, I visualize it, imagining it on the road up in front of me. And then I go past it and look back at it. So it's almost like I'm going down a timeline past the thing I want and looking back at it, granted. Then I put it into my feelings. I see it complete. I make it a part of my heart. And that helps a lot in establishing a strong energy in your feelings, in your intuition. And then when you go out in the real world, your efforts direct you to where the completion is, where this thing that you desire will be delivered into your life. The other meditation I find particularly sacred is a meditation of gratitude. And that is like sitting on the power spot in a desolate area and really feeling your humanness. Of course, in my case, my humanness is male. So I feel my gratitude through a spiritual masculinity. That sense of sacredness that's dressed in a physical body called male. I think that's vital because it's so easy in the hurly-burly of life to miss out on this incredible gift that we've been given, the gift of life. So I try to take a moment to give thanks for the breath that I'm taking in, to give thanks for the great mother energy of the earth, for the abundance that's all around us, to give thanks for love and our friendships, for the opportunity to travel, for the opportunity to create, for the comprehension that I've managed to achieve in this lifetime